All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on into today's edition of Flyers Game Recap. It is the season finale of Flyers Game Recap. Last night, the Flyers played in their last game of the 2023 tour. Sorry, I say the 2022-2023 season as they beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-4 in overtime. And it's a little bittersweet. Thankful that the season is over because we're gearing up for another championship run here with the Philadelphia 76ers. We're hoping that they can get to that spot. They are a championship contender right now. Obviously, right now, we're in full swing with the Phillies and the Union seasons individually. So it is kind of relieving to not have to worry per se about the Flyers, keeping up with them here and there since they kind of just fell off the rails and the season was pretty much over. But we are here yet again for another season finale. I think this is like the third or fourth season finale we've done together, and it's been extremely disappointing. This since the 2020 season, this train has just or this ship has just going downhill, and it hasn't gotten any better. I think this year we got some at least what we got this year was a foundation set. Now, we didn't go all invested in the full tank, and this is obviously was like half-assed done. But I think that where we are right now, as an organization, I feel much better than what I did at the beginning of this year. Look, obviously, you look at what happened overall this year. We all knew that this was going to be a rebuilding year. There was no way with what the talent that they put together, with all the injury woes that this team has had, there was no way that the Flyers were going to sell to the fans that this was going to be a championship caliber team. Chuck may have hinted at the fact that this still could have been a playoff team. Anyways, that's no wonder why he's not here. But what we all kind of envisioned was, yeah, this was going to be a step back. This is going to be a learning curve. This is just going to be John Tortorella setting his message and putting his input on this team. And so we all figured that it would take a little bit. But obviously, why was Chuck Fletcher here all season long? And that was a question that we all asked ourselves. And of course, he gets fired after the trade deadline debacle. You had, Sean Couturier, would he come back? Was he not? He didn't come back. Cam Atkinson, would he come back? He didn't come back. I'm trying to think of any other major other injuries out there. I mean, Ryan Ellis, that's the long gone. He's never ever going to play again in a Flyers uniform. So although it was yet again another of the same type of season as last year and the year prior, you have to feel better about this team than what we did even the beginning of this year. So it is what it is. Let's get a little bit into this game, and then we'll get into the offseason. So last night against Chicago, it was really kind of like a farewell ceremony here for the Blackhawks. Before the game, they announced that Jonathan Toews would not be returning back to the Blackhawks after this season. Long time. I mean, I guess at this point, he's a legend over in Chicago, him and Patrick Kane. And real quick, it is crazy that Kane and Toews have lasted this long, honestly. You don't really see that too often where, a duo like that lasts over a decade in the NHL. Those guys, the Blackhawks team were one of the best of all time. They obviously, they beat us to kind of start their tenure, their dynasty that they had in the 2010s. And you just knew every playoff year from 2011 through 2018, the Blackhawks had a chance. The Blackhawks are going to make the playoffs. And it's crazy how it's all come to an end. Patrick Kane obviously got traded earlier in the season during the deadline to the New York Rangers. Obviously, his legacy tarnished itself with his RAPE debacle a couple of seasons ago. I mean, we just cannot forget that. But it is over, and Jonathan Toews his tenure is over as well after last night. And it just overall the night kind of felt like a Jonathan Toews farewell tour finale. That's really what we got there. But start off the game, it would start off in the favor of the Flyers. They put up 2 goals in the first period. 26 seconds in, the Flyers just get the puck and just race down into the other end. And from Morgan Frost was able to get a puck to TK, and he buries it into goal, and that would put the Flyers up early 1-0. Stalockton had no chance on that one. In 6:21, 5 minutes later into the period, Travis Konechny gets a second goal for the Flyers. He put himself a Morgan Frost rebound back into net, and Morgan Frost, just like that, gets his 30 and 31st goals of the season. It's been a long year. I feel like the last time we did a game recap, we were sitting at 24 goals, and he was able to tack on 7 more goals to end the season here. The first season, they started 24 goals. Obviously, he had a nagging injury in the second half of the season, which honestly, not only, obviously he wasn't on the ice, so it kind of hurt him, but it hurt the Flyers even more because in that time, they did not look good. And it's the reason why I've made a debate that Travis Konechny should be wearing the C, but, it's John Tortorella's world. We're just living in it. The Blackhawks at the end of the first period would tack on 2 goals of themselves. Jakar Chiara and Anders Pork. I'm sorry, Borch. Still got to get used to these hockey names. But they tie it up. It's a 2-2 game heading into the second period. In the second period, Flyers would own that period. 2 goals they would put on. Owen Tippett would get his 27th goal of the season. We'll get to him in a second. Noah Cates would get his 13th goal of the season. All the bright spots for this team going forward, all contributing in this game. Jonathan Toews gets his last goal as a member of the Blackhawks. He gets a power play goal, 7:40 into the period, and it would make it a 4-3 game at that point. You head into the third period. Flyers seemed like they had it, and then all of a sudden, the Blackhawks just kind of turn it up, and they put the pressure on the Flyers. And then Andreas Athanasiou would get his 20th goal of the season. 2 minutes left into the game. He gets the game-tying goal. Chicago's going wild. They're ready. They're acting like they're about to win yet again another Stanley Cup. And so 2 minutes left. No more time. Goes into overtime. Final game of the season. And then kind of context clues for me personally. I'm happy with some extra hockey. I was just exhausted at that point. The night prior, we had to stay up late for the Union's quarterfinal game against Atlas. We had to wake up at 5 in the morning. Not much sleep to begin with. Work all day, and then go into Duke by the River. Then go into some Flyers game, and I'm just trying to stay awake. And the game goes in overtime. I'm at this point. I'm like, all right, I can't. I literally, my body cannot. But that's what we got here. And in overtime, it was entertaining. We almost had a Jonathan Toews Hollywood type of ending here. It was about 3:30 left into the overtime. Jonathan Toews or Morgan Frost at the blue line gets his pocket picked by Jonathan Toews. Toews on a breakaway 1-on-1 with him and Felix, and Jonathan Toews could not bury it back past Felix here. How it's your last goal? This is like the endings of all. I remember when Patrick Elias in his last game as a Devil, I think he scored a hat trick. This is the best Hollywood ending that you could possibly think of. They win it in overtime on a breakaway, but he gets blocked by Felix fucking Sandstrom. Are you kidding me? That's how his Blackhawk tenure would end. And then right on the play on the next Flyers possession after that, Ivan Provorov does again more overtime magic. Travis Konechny in the neutral zone finds Ivan Provorov streaking down the ice, and Provorov just one sharp move into the inside, gets it past Statlock, and that would do it here. The Philadelphia Flyers in the season finale would get the dub over the Chicago Blackhawks, getting their 31st. I'm sorry, 30 worst. I mean, they are 30 worst, that is for sure. But they get their 31st win of the season just like that. They obviously got a point regardless because of the overtime. But that is how this game would end. In a game that, listen, kind of did feel like it was the curtain call for Jonathan Toews. The Philadelphia Flyers still found themselves a way to get the dub. And that's how our season would end. Obviously, for a lot of Flyers fans, it's a little bit disappointing for the fact that we all want to get Connor Bedard, and we all want to be in the running for Connor Bedard. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, for the Philadelphia Flyers. They put themselves, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're in the seventh best odds for Jonathan Toews. So probably won't happen, but what you're hoping for here is for the Philadelphia Flyers to find a way to get into the top five. They're in seventh right now. If they can find a way to jump Arizona and Montreal, that would be beautiful. That would absolutely be beautiful. But look, the whole debate of whether or not they should have fully tanked or not is, it's a tiring debate. At the end of the day, you can always do a tank like what Hinkie and the Sixers did, right? Now, obviously, sports are different. You don't really need to tank like that in hockey because in basketball, you just have no choice. You need star players, and unfortunately, star players are hard to find. And so in hockey, though, you can find players all throughout the draft, and you can build from diamonds in the rough all throughout the league, and you've seen it all the freaking time. But it would definitely, I get the whole you should have tanked. Why were you trying to win games? I mean, overall, the Flyers genuinely did improve from last year, believe it or not. What kind of felt like a down season, I mean, I think people forget 2021-22 was even worse. You had two separate 10 or more game losing streaks. This year, you only had one. That was good, right? Remember that? Well, it was early in the season. It was a 10-game losing streak. But this team improved by 6 wins this year from last year. And I think a lot of that had to do with the John Tortorella effect. Torts in his first season here, he's got a lot of criticism. I mean, I remember the Kevin Hayes situation. He got a lot of criticism for just defending Chuck Fletcher. Right now with, Tony DeAngelo got benched for like the last 5 games of the year. A lot of different circumstances, John Tortorella has been criticized heavily here. And some things I don't agree with for sure, but the one thing I can agree with, I like the attitude and the mindset he's instilled with this team. They want to work hard. And they've kind of fallen in love with that, and that's very, very important. I was listening to his exit interview with Ashton Harris on NBC Sports Philly, and the one thing that I took away from it was just honesty. Like, it's such a simple word, and it sounds so easy to do, but in hindsight, it is hard to do. It is so hard to be honest all the time, but it's the only way you can be an effective leader. Because especially when you're in a situation like this, where you're clearly trying to rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, you need honesty. When a player's not playing well, he needs to be known that, listen, you're not playing well. You look at a player like Travis Konechny, had a fantastic year. His career highs all over the ice. Having a guy like John Tortorella to humble you is huge. I think that's so important, especially as we go forward. He talked about subtractions. He was honest. In order to get where we need to go, we need to make subtraction. That's obvious. We obviously know that. Like, I don't think a guy like Kevin Hayes is going to be here much longer. I obviously don't think JVR is going to resign. I am curious about guys like Ivan Provorov. I'm curious about Tony DeAngelo. Honestly, got benched the last 5 games of the year. That's it's not for health. That's not to save your best talent for next year so you don't risk any injury. No, that's just John Tortorella not happy with Tony DeAngelo. Or B, he just doesn't think that he's part of the future plans. Obviously, John got really criticized for the last part of the season, watching a lot of the games in the booth. And I've never coached hockey, so I can't really talk about that. But what I do know from sitting in that viewpoint during soccer, you see everything. It's the best view on the field, ice, pitch, whatever you want to call it. It's the best view. So in this time frame, the last month and a half, while you had wait. Oh, sorry. I thought Jim Curtin just got extended or something. I was like, what? Anyways, back to this. I just lost my point as well. Yeah, I mean, with the Tony D situation. Okay. So I get the frustrations of seeing your manager or your coach up in the booth, but with this time frame, it was all about analyzing and seeing what you got. It was essentially a tryout period for a lot of these guys, and I also like the thought of just allowing these guys to kind of just figure it out without their coach and watching John Tortorella kind of analyze that and see how they react to that. I thought that was very intriguing as well. Because again, we're building up this team. The locker room's still not set. It seems like the core seems to be set. Like going forward, like I do think that Owen Tippett, Joe Farabee, Morgan Frost, Noah Cates, I really don't want to throw Travis Konechny in this because I do think he's got a lot of value that could really help us jumpstart this. Cam York, those are the core pieces that I want to continue rolling with through next year. But you want to see what you have, you want to see how they respond, and honestly, maybe that is what John Tortorella decided. Like, hey, Tony D is not the right option here. And to be quite honest with you, obviously, him and Brandon Lemieux would prefer not to have him here. We don't need that lingering moniker rolling around here. I get it. If you're a political person, that's fine. But I don't need it in my hockey team. Quite honestly, I need to be a neutral environment set to win. Now I'm not saying Tony D and Brandon Lemieux, were pulling up in the center of the locker room and started bumping out their conservative podcast. No, but I do think that maybe it could be rubbed the wrong way. Especially clearly, it's rubbed John Tortorella the wrong way. Oh man, it's going to be a long off season, and I'm honestly sick and tired of doing this finales. On a Thursday night, I felt like I was the only one watching the Flyers. Now I know that there are diehard orange and black fans who watch every single game, but with the finale, I always watch it, regardless of the being good or bad. I always watch the finale here, and it just sucks that you go on Twitter. Everyone's talking about the Phillies, and we're going to get back into full swing of Phillies game recap starting today. Everyone's talking about the Sixers and their play. Actually, we haven't really had that much Sixers playoff talk, which is ironic as it is. No one's really talking about the Eagles. Obviously the Union with the advancing Champions League and their form of play has been a topic of discussion for the smart fans. But it's just upsetting. The Flyers have found themselves at the bottom of the totem pole here in Philadelphia. It's just flat out embarrassing. I want good hockey. I miss good hockey. Now I have to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs yet again, and watch not my team being in there, and it is frustrating. We're gonna have to watch good hockey without my team being in there, and that is the extremely frustrating part. Oh man. Well, I mean, at least we are heading in there. I really genuinely do believe we are heading in the right direction, and I don't think that Tortorella is going to be the coach that takes us to the Stanley Cup. That's fine. And I wish the Sixers would have learned from this. Tortorella, I truly believe, was brought here to set a foundation, to build that up. That's something that we missed, and it's something that Chuck Fletcher kind of failed to realize as well. And we still have to clean up the Chuck Fletcher mess. Rasmus Ristolainen had a bounce-back season of all bounce-back seasons. I think he led the Flyers in points as a defender. Obviously, Sanheim is just so hit or miss. I think he finished the season off strong, though. Ivan Provorov, you guys know my thoughts on him. I thought he finished the season off strong. But I do agree with the fact that, and I saw the Danny Briere report, everyone's up for grabs. And I'm not opposed to that for sure, but I also would rather keep some of these, the pieces that I mentioned. Those are some of the pieces that I would want to keep. But obviously I think the Flyers are going to do everything they can to trade Tony DeAngelo. Chuck Fletcher didn't do us any favors with the contract that he gave him. I wouldn't be surprised if Provorov's on the trade block. I wouldn't be surprised if TK's on the trade block. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Hayes is on the trade block. And then there's the whole question about Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson. What's the future for them going to be like? Obviously, Coots hasn't played hockey in a while, and he's not young. And Cam Atkinson, I do think that he can have a place here on this team. But if you do, if you do keep this team and you add some young pieces, it's a good team you're looking at. I don't want to look too far ahead. And I've learned my lesson with the Flyers and to put on the orange and black glasses and start analyzing this team. But if you add two really talented forwards to this team that already was a 31-win team, talking closer to 40 wins? ladies and gentlemen, let me see here. I mean, the Florida Panthers, who right now have the eighth seed, had 42 wins. You would have at least gotten close to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wow, man. How about the Washington Capitals missing the playoffs? Is it time to break up the band? Tampa Bay is a 6 seed. Islanders 7 seed. I haven't watched these seedings. The New Jersey Devils at a 3. That hurts, man. That absolutely hurts. I'm listening to Jonesy and Jim, signing off for the final time. They're talking about the draft lottery. And they bring up the 2017 draft. How we went from 13th to 2. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that draft really did set us back. Because although Nico Hischier is no world beater, no top 10 player in the league, but he's a really good player for the Devils. And he's been a big part of what they have this year. And Nolan Patrick, I don't even think he's in the league, which is frustrating as it is. But we need to get back to this. We need to get back to the playoffs. And I really am glad. I do feel like this Flyers fan base is on the same page. It is going to take some time, but we do want it done the right way. And I really do appreciate it because that's how it should be done. You got to do it the right way. And I think Torts is doing it the right way. Keep building. And then building a strong culture, which I do think that was the key this year. And I think that is going to be the key next year as you get in more young players and new players in general as well. So it should be interesting. So as this offseason goes on, we'll obviously be covering all news and tidbits with the Flyers here. But that's going to do it, and it's upsetting. Upsetting that we're here yet again talking about a season's end when there's playoffs going on and there's a bunch of other things going on in the city of Philadelphia as well. But that's just a fact of what we're in right now. Flyers have dug themselves in this hole. It seems like they're trying to get out of it. No more Chuck Fletcher, no more Dave Scott. I mean, I think that should put a smile on your faces just off of that. You don't have to deal with those jerk-offs ruining our team. But yes, we still have a long way to go, and we got to build this team. We need to get those cornerstone pieces. I don't think we have that yet. I think we got a good core of role players, but I don't think we have those key pieces that make what is a championship team. But guys, that's going to do it for today's edition of Phil. I'm already on summertime. Flyers game recap. Flyers in the season finale win in overtime 5-4, and we're off to the off season. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe for more Philly sports. Of course, you can find us wherever you stream podcasts from Apple, Google, and Spotify. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys, let's go Flyers.